sweep the Rockets. Is that McNuts?
This one makes me sad, Matt Berry.
Okay.
I am a sucker for the young teams, the young scrappy teams, playing defense, Coach of the Year candidate, Jalen Green. But I think this is going to happen. This is not McNuts. Here's my deal. The Rockets have been the same team in the postseason that they were in the regular season, and that is a team that tends to find these anemic moments on offense. And you just cannot afford to do that with Jimmy Butler and Stephen Curry playing the way that they are for the Warriors. I love the defense. I think they can muck it up, bring the scoring down in this ballgame, but they have to score the basketball, and they're struggling.
They're going to have to punch first in game two. There's no question about it. And you can't get shooting performances from Jalen Green and Tari Eason like that. Young players, their first experience can't happen.
Wendy?
One of them was a 2 seed, one of them was a 7 seed over 82 games. That didn't happen by accident. The Warriors are a flawed team. The Rockets can do a lot really well. I think this is going to be a longer series. I think the Rockets are in trouble losing home court to the veteran team, but there's no way this is a sweep.
Okay, everyone's weighed in. You know, I find this perfect producing because speaking of McNuts, we bring back Joe Fortenbaugh. Sometimes it just writes itself. Let's look ahead tonight.
You're on fire this morning.
Give me a prop. Give me a prop you're playing in Warriors Rockets.
I like Houston tonight. Specifically, I like Steph Curry within the scoring prop to go under 25.5 points. This is a young Houston team that was clearly overwhelmed in game one, and it led to a massive performance from Steph Curry. Barry, he shot over 63% from the floor and 55% from three-point range. That's not happening again. This is your classic zigzag. 31 points in game one. We go the other way in game two because if people forget, April 6th, Amen Thompson, marking Steph Curry, held him to 1 of 10 shooting and only 3 points. I'm not saying that happens again, but I'm saying Curry's not getting to 26 points tonight. We're going under, and we like the Rockets to cover the 3.
In Fortenbaugh, later next hour, we're going to brag about me on ESPN Bet this week and how I nailed my one best bet.
You're 1-0.
We'll talk about that later.
Seed Lakers feel they did not play their best, and they are geared up for tonight.
This is vintage Luka Doncic, just so gifted offensively.
Another great feed by LeBron.
I'm not sure we saw any of this in game one.
Lakers are going to win it by 9 and tie this best-of-7 series at 1-1.
Going into the Minnesota is going to be a war. No matter what, we can't panic, and we got to stay together, and that's on me and Bronny to keep the team together.
You know, Redick said after game one the Lakers weren't physically ready to play. Yesterday might have been one game, but they came to play, particularly on the defensive side of the ball, just 85 points, their fewest in any regular season or playoff game this year. Game 3 is on Friday as they shift the series to Minnesota. Let's talk Bucks Pacers. Damian Lillard made his return. We saw some flashes of Dame time in this one. Pick it up in the fourth. Bobby Portis misses. Giannis does not. Bucket and foul. Misses the free throw. Bucks down 13. Then Lillard kicks it out. Portis hits the 3. You're thinking, here comes a little bit of a run. Portis 28 points on the night, down just 8. And then I told you about Dame time.
You did?
Dame time. You know, this is his Bucks playoff debut.
13, that's amazing. 13-0 run, Bucks trail by 2, and then the very next play, Alan Hahn, you saw what?
No defense. It's only Pascal Siakam. You might want to guard him. Now this right here by Kyle Kuzma. Kyle Kuzma, please. Clean up on aisle 18.
How do you feel about them, the trash talk afterwards?
I mean, these two teams play each other a ton. They're in the same division. They played each other a lot in the playoffs recently. They don't like each other, but that's disrespectful. That's Damian Lillard.
Bro, and he shot 4 of 13 from the field.
But that was a big shot over Giannis.
Pacers win 123-115 afterwards. Bucks react.
My mindset right now is game 3. I know the deal, man. I just know the deal. I know what I gotta do. Look, at the end of the day, it's not something that you have to panic, but also it's not something that you have to be loose. It's life or death. It's life or death, you know. That's how it is for me. I know the deal.
As typically is the case, as Brian Windhorst joins us again, Giannis performing is not the problem. Maybe everything around him has been lately. So, Wendy, what are you hearing around the league, and is this the beginning of the end of Giannis in Milwaukee?
There's two things going on here. One, the Bucks have lost 2 games where Giannis has been awesome. By the way, in this game, they shot 50% from the field. Bobby Portis had one of the best playoff games of his career, and they still lost. Maybe they can do something when they get back to Milwaukee, but it's looking bleak right now. The second one is the elephant in the room in the entire NBA. If the Bucks truly aren't going to be competitive for a title, and guys, they're staring in the face of losing in the first round for a 3rd consecutive year, bleeding tens of millions of dollars, out almost all of their first-round picks, with 2 of their key players, Bobby Portis and Brook Lopez, headed for free agency, how is Giannis going to look at this going forward? I don't have an answer. The league doesn't have an answer. But that question is very likely going to define most of the NBA offseason. He has done nothing this year but focus on the next game and play his heart out for the Milwaukee Bucks. There's no indication that he's not done everything but invest in this team. But he can see the landscape like everybody else. How can he believe that this Bucks team can continue to improve going forward, considering how they're devoid of all assets? And how he looks at that will very possibly could change the face of the NBA over the next 6 months.
Yeah, and Monica, this was a championship window with this team, with this roster, and this franchise. What are your thoughts on potentially that window just now being shut?
Well, I think it reminds us how fragile those windows are, right? And this, to be fair, I think when they won that championship, they had a nice opportunity, but they just were so riddled with injuries and bad luck. Even when you think back to last year, Damian Lillard's playoff debut is not because he hasn't been in a Bucks uniform, it's because of health. When last year you didn't have Lillard or Antetokounmpo when they faced the same Pacers organization. I give Giannis a ton of credit to Wendy's points. He's been the utmost professional. And just to hammer home, like last night he has 34 points, 14 of 20 from the field. That's 70%, 18 rebounds and 7 assists. And so when he comes to the podium and is like, I know what I got to do, he's putting it all on himself, even though he's already been almost as good as he could be in the first 2 games.
Well, let's be honest. Wendy has a lot more going on in his background right now in the screen than really Giannis has going on around him.
That's saying something.
In Milwaukee. And Wendy, you look great because the tie is fantastic, but what's real is real. But it doesn't mean, though, that he is 1 foot out the door. As much as the rumors are and as much as we can kind of see the future, because in the NBA we have this pattern of the star player and where he is at 30 years old and what future for that franchise holds. They are an older team now. There's a rebuild they've got to go through that's not easy to do. And that Lillard trade, which was a blockbuster, which flipped the league over and everybody thought is going to open a new championship window, that actually opened a championship window in Boston because they moved on from Jrue Holiday. It changed their whole dynamic as a team, and Jrue ends up in Boston. So the Celtics benefited from this trade more than the Bucks did.
And, you know, this was Milwaukee fans' worst nightmare, smaller market team, losing Giannis to one of the big franchises. It hasn't happened yet, but we'll see as we monitor that as the Bucks don't appear to be heading towards another championship. As we keep it rolling now with Monica's signature segment.
Oh, here we go.
Is that McNuts?
No, she is.
We're starting locally, Monica. Is the Knicks season a failure if they win 1 series and then are done? Is that McNuts?
I think this is McNuts because it would not be a failure. They would win 51 games. That's more games than they won last year by 1, I know. But also, if you lose to the Boston Celtics, that's a well-oiled machine, right? I also think that this organization is as attractive a destination as it has ever been. We just left a tantalizing conversation about a multi-time finalist MVP finisher and MVP in the league. So I think you got to roll with it. If they get past Detroit, this season, in my mind, is not a failure.
You didn't build this team to go to the second round, right? Like that's not why you made a trade for Mikal Bridges, not why you made a trade for Karl-Anthony Towns. I'm with you, though, because everything has to be in stages, everything has to be built, but we are in New York, where the microwave is your favorite appliance because it's quick, it's easy, and I know what I'm getting right away. And that's going to be the problem. That will the organization be able to quiet that noise about making major changes or more major changes, including head coach, if all you see is a gentleman's sweep in the second round against a Celtics team that has dominated you? What more will they be able to do to advance the cause? Because that's important.
You know, you bring up the Celtics. Jason Tatum is listed as doubtful for Game 2. Celtics can sweep without a fully healthy Jason Tatum. Is that McNuts?
I do not think that's McNuts. And listen, no disrespect to the Orlando Magic. They're a terrific team. They fought their way into the playoffs. But the Celtics are that deep. They still have Derek White, Jaylen Brown, Kristaps Porzingis. Like, there's so much depth for this squad. And they've been playing great basketball consistently all season long. I still think the Celtics can get this done if Tatum's not 100%.
on this wrist. I want to see how he reacts on this longer term, because I'm going to take you back to 2022. Tatum hurt his wrist early in that playoff run. It bothered him throughout the playoffs. He did play relatively well, but they later found out that he had a small fracture in there. And that's why I suspect when he had this injury, which is to his shooting wrist, that was to his left wrist, that they immediately went out and got an MRI. And why I suspect they may hold him out a little bit here. They don't want this to linger.
Yeah, you don't want that to linger, especially when you're trying, you've got that window we've talked about. It appears to be ripe for another championship run. Okay, final one. Warriors.
Mấy rồi, tắm nước đấy. Xin chào các bạn, đã quay trở lại với kênh của mình. Ngày hôm nay mình sẽ hướng dẫn các bạn là vòng. Hôm nay vòng mình sẽ có tiêu đề là ôi giời, không phải tiêu đề cái gì hết, nhưng mà cái mũ. Bây giờ mình sẽ bắt đầu làm. Chỉ mong thế là phần thân ơi.
Thì đây mình đã vẽ xong một cấu trúc rồi nha các bạn ơi. Các bạn dẹp đăng ký kênh trở lại cho mình nha. Xin chào tất cả các bạn đã quay trở lại với video của mình. Và trong video ngày hôm nay mình sẽ vẽ cho các bạn xem con sứa nhé. Bây giờ mình sẽ bắt đầu vẽ luôn.
Trời ơi, mẹ đây hai màu nha. Tiếp đến sẽ là màu xanh. Mình không bật cái máy cái lên này quay à? Sang 8 phút, quay 8 phút một lần xong rồi bật được rồi.
Redick.